Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for taking a few minutes to tune in this afternoon. Really appreciate that. And out here sitting in the parking lot of the gym, getting ready to go in and get my workout in. And I just wanted to do this afternoon's video based upon some of the tremendous response I had yesterday from the video I did on the basically what happened to the Ranger Pros, explaining a little bit about marketing in the fishing industry. I had a ton of comments basically want to know more about the marketing, how that really goes down in the fishing industry. And I'm going to share some more info with you guys today, specifically one of the actually the biggest event that ever happened to affect that, to negatively affect anglers. And that was the recession in September of 2008. I'll sort of tell you a little bit about that and what has happened as a result of that. A little bit of a history here. The fishing industry, as far as I'm talking about for the opportunity for the anglers and for the tournament circuits to an extent a little bit, were at their heyday in the late 90s to the early to mid 2000s. Starting to taper off a little bit, towards 2006 to 2008, since Walmart was pulling out of FLW. At the time, Bass was sort of struggling to get their footing and their identity, competing against FLW, sort of a transitional time. But still, that was a great time to be a professional angler. Prior to the recession of 2008 in September, the deals for the anglers, as far as the endemic within the industry type deals, were at an all-time high. If you were a professional angler, like from the late 90s to the mid 2000s, and you had some decent success, if you were qualifying for the championships, the classic, FLW Cup, winning tournaments, that type of stuff, there was a tremendous amount of opportunity for the anglers back then. And the budgets for those endemic companies, the fishing companies, they were pretty substantial, and a lot of guys were doing really good, including myself. If you could, market yourself a little bit and you could catch fish, there was just a tremendous amount of opportunities out there. Another thing you have to remember is there wasn't as many anglers back then. Even though that wasn't that long ago, you basically had two tiers. You had the Bassmaster Elite Series was just started I think in 2005, so it was fairly new. But so you had that, and then you had the FLW tier that was pretty strong. And both of those fields had marquee anglers in them on both sides. So what happened is everything was going along pretty good. Prizes were pretty good in the tournaments. Everybody was, making some good sponsorship dollars. And September of 2008 rolled around. The stock market crash, recession, whatever, with all the banks, uncertainty, and that type of stuff. And the day that happened, I can't remember exactly what day that was in September of 2008, but every single Bass Pro that I'm aware of out there either lost all of their sponsorship income or at least half of it. The guys that only lost half of their sponsorship income, and I'm talking about the top superstar anglers even, if you lost just 50% of your income during that crash of September, you had to consider yourself lucky. But it was catastrophic to a lot of anglers out there. I mean, a lot of us, that had responsibilities and bills to pay, we suddenly got, our sponsorship income just completely taken away or drastically reduced to the point that it was just a struggle to continue to fish. And what happened is the marketing companies within the fishing industry, they were under pressure too. The economy was tanking. They were under pressure too. And the first thing that they cut was the marketing advertising dollars. That's the very first thing they did to try to stop the bleeding. And of course, with that, went the axe on the pro anglers. So in that sense, I'm not here to blame the companies for doing what they had to do at the time. They had to do what they had to do at the time to survive. So the next couple of years after that was a struggle for everybody. It was a struggle for the fishing industry, struggle for the tournament circuits, struggle for the anglers. It was just a really bad time. That whole time frame for the next couple years until the economy started getting back on track. A couple years later, sort of in that 2010, 2011 timeframe, it was tough on everybody to get their footing back. But finally, the economy started to improve, and it started getting better and better and better. And tackle sales went up, boat and motor sales went up. Everything started doing, really good, getting back on track. But the problem that you had there was the fishing industry did not react to that improvement in the economy as far as the compensation that they returned to the anglers. For example, what I'm talking about is, say for example, you had an angler that was getting a $2,000 a month retainer from a fishing industry company. It doesn't really matter what product they're putting out. Something within the fishing industry was giving them $2,000 a month. After the recession, they cut that out. They kept them on the staff, but they maybe gave them free product instead of money. There was no money to that. As the economy started to improve over the next 2 or 3 years, where those companies were getting back to the pre-2008 crash levels as far as in revenue and income, they didn't return to the same deals that they were giving anglers in the past. And I'm not talking about all these companies. I don't want to lump all these companies out there. The companies that I'm talking about, they know who they are. But what happened is a lot of these companies, I'm not going to say it's all of them because it wasn't, but a lot of these companies out there, they saw that their anglers are saying, hey, well, we saved $2,000 a month on this angler here, and he stayed with us. There's no reason for us to, if he's going to stay with us for free product, why should we have to spend $2,000 a month to keep him, because he's not going anywhere? And what happened is there's some companies out there that took advantage of that, and they never returned, to those levels prior to 2008. They basically pocketed the profits themselves. So, from that standpoint, it has still remains to this day, to some extent, that has remained, as far as we have not seen the levels of sponsorships within the industry return to, those levels prior to 2008. Again, that gets back into marketing. It gets back into bean counting. It gets back into the agendas that you have. Like I said, all companies are not like that. Some companies had the integrity to say, hey, look, we're back on track here. We're making some money. Let's spread the wealth. Let's help these guys out because they do a lot for us. Costs a ton of money to stay out there. Let's get back. But there are some companies to this day that never did that. They maintain the status quo after 2008, which is sad. I mean, that's a sad thing to do it. And from a business standpoint, I understand that businesses have to do what they have to do to survive, but there comes a point in business where you have to do the right thing. There comes a point in business where profit and greed takes a place of doing the right thing. A lot of the companies that I see that are super successful and have a great reputation are those companies that do the right thing. They have a marketing budget that they return to the anglers. Anglers aren't looking for handouts. They're looking for fair compensation. What anglers bring to a company is they create brand awareness. They create impressions for that company. They drive traffic to that company's products. And that is something that comes from a lot of work and effort. Some companies just don't place the value on that as some other companies. So the companies that I've tried to align myself with prior or after 2008 are those companies that have that integrity level of doing the right thing. And then another thing we're talking about, I'm talking mainly about the fishing industry companies here. There's another element of the non-endemic companies, the non-related fishing companies, like Bridgeford Foods is my title sponsor, and that's a completely different level because those companies, the non-endemic companies that are not within the fishing industry, they didn't have that same type of an impact to that extent. So therefore, most of the better deals that you have and the better relationships and better partnerships that you have in 2021 are with these non-endemic companies that are out there. Like if you see a lot of professional anglers out there with boat wraps, most of them are not, or a lot of them are non-endemic companies. They're companies that don't have anything to do with the fishing industry. They're companies that, they're either using professional anglers to reach a target market or to reach a broader spectrum across the country. So, from that standpoint, every company out there has a different marketing agenda. They have a different market that they're targeted to. Every product's unique. Some products are more laser focused to a certain market, and other products are broad. Like for example, Bridgeford Foods, produces, pepperoni, beef jerky, summer sausage, MRE components, bread products. So the target market for Bridgeford Foods is a much larger target market than, say, somebody out there that's selling bows and arrows. So every market is different as far as how a company approaches that. But the thing that remains out there is, one of the biggest injustices that I've seen in the sport of professional angling is what happened in 2008 of September, where so many anglers out there, they had to give it up, they had to quit fishing, they had to really sacrifice and cut back for what happened, never return to those prior levels. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with everybody. I've had a few questions on that. Like I said, I've been involved in the marketing division for several different companies, so I've had a little bit of insight to that. And all the great companies that I've ever worked with and had a chance to associate with, the thing that the common thread that those companies have is they want to do the right thing. It's like they don't have this hidden agenda to hoard profits or greed. They want to fairly compensate the people that help grow their company, that help build their brand. And one piece of advice I can give you guys out there that that are seeking sponsorships or seeking to make a career in this sport is do your research and find out those companies like I'm talking about. Find out the company's integrity levels. You can see this very clearly if you go into a company's reviews. If you go into like a customer satisfaction survey review, you can see it very, very clearly. Associate yourself with those great companies that place value into people and operate with just to a higher standard. That's you'll be much happier in the long term. But anyway, guys, just wanted to share that with you. Hope it sheds a little bit of light on those questions that were asked a couple days ago. And thanks again for tuning in to the channel. Much appreciated, and we'll be back soon.